Hi, my name is Jabaar Mohamedas and you are watching Accessibility with Jabaar. So today's show, what is it about? It's about misconceptions within communities about disability, and we will engage in conversations and also share information to benefit a more inclusive environment. In South Africa, we have many children that are living with disabilities that face many barriers. And today we have on our show Jessica Dewhurst. And she is a very prominent person. She is from the Justicedesk and she advocates for children's rights. So before we interview her, let's just watch a short clip about what are they about.
Freedom of discrimination. Society tends to judge us based on our race, sex, religion, and culture. Just because he's a boy doesn't mean he can't become a nurse. And if he becomes a nurse, society tends to say morphe or he's gay. Just because I'm a girl doesn't mean I'm expected to quit school and work at home. We live in a beautiful world, but discrimination still lies among us.
What is done by the people in power affects us, because we are going to be living in the future that they are currently creating. It's important for us to speak up for what we believe in, to speak up for what we disagree in, because we are going to be affected by those futures and we can't let things happen without us knowing and without us being present.
Wow, that's so beautiful to see. I think that it's good to see that kids are aware of their rights and they feel that they are inclusive and they look like they work very well with your team. Jessica, welcome, and tell us more about how you decided to start this and how do you encounter and engage with kids?
Hi there, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on the show. This is really such an incredible initiative. So yes, my name is Jess. I'm the CEO and founder of the Justicedesk, and we, in a nutshell, believe in the power of the everyday person. So we found that there were a lot of organizations that were changing policy, trying to change laws, and we had a lot of welfare organizations that tried to address individual things like hunger and homelessness. But what we didn't see a lot of was work that focused on empowering everyday people to be human rights defenders and change makers themselves, so that they didn't have to rely on external people to come into their communities and make change. We believe that the true experts in a community as to what their issues are, but also how to solve it, is the community members themselves, are people who are experiencing injustice themselves. We believe that they are the experts, and therefore we should be going and educating and empowering and equipping those everyday people to lead that change. So that was the idea that sparked the Justicedesk. We've been here for 8 years now. Over 1.4 million people's lives changed. We're a youth-run, led, driven organization who have incredible young people in our projects that are transforming the face of not only South Africa, but the continent of Africa.
Wow, Jessica, those are quite large numbers of children being involved with the Justicedesk. Congratulations to you for the amazing work that you've done over the past 8 years. I know we have a lot of more questions, but we'll discuss that later. For now, with the Justicedesk, I think it's very important that many children are aware, specifically those that are disabled, those that are isolated from community or embarrassed about their disability, to help them express and come out of the closet and analyze and accept their identity. So you do a lot of that as well. You do a lot of advocacy work in that aspect, but we'll go more into depth on that after the break. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with Jessica after that. We are back from our quick ad break, and we are continuing our engagement with Jessica from the Justicedesk. So many children have disabilities and are facing a lot of challenges in terms of being in an inclusive environment. So we're speaking to Jessica today about that and the work that Justicedesk does. So Jessica, you've been working or started the Justicedesk for eight years ago. Over that 8 years, what have you identified or analyzed in terms of children in the mainstream and children in the disability field? What are the differences that you've picked up?
Within particularly one of our projects called the Youth Ambassadors Project, we work in 45 schools across South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And the main purpose of the project is to empower children to fight for the rights of children. And what we found is that young people have incredibly strong opinions and beliefs, and they have ideas for how we can change not only their schools and communities, but the country as a whole. But what we slowly started identifying was that children with any form of disability were told a lot of the time that their opinions didn't matter, that they were just, should be thankful that they can go to school, for example. And we also found out that a lot of the quality of education in South Africa when it comes to children with disabilities is very low in comparison to other schools. So as a human rights organization who's very passionate about the rights of children, we thought it was completely unacceptable that a disability should be used as a barrier for quality access to education. So our Youth Ambassadors program opened up to children of any school, no matter where you are in the 3 countries. And we had youth ambassadors come on board, blind youth ambassadors, deaf students, the most incredible young people stepping forward and for once being given the platform to say, I have rights, I have a voice, and I should be able to communicate that voice no matter the method I use. And we suddenly had incredible youth ambassadors standing up and demanding hotlines being set up and actually going to do that community-based policing forum WhatsApp group so that they can get hold of police if they needed to. We had youth ambassadors creating Braille books so they can make sure that young people could learn about their rights. So what we found was young people were becoming are incredibly inventive and passionate about sharing their rights, but also defending the rights of each other. Because at the end of the day, they all have one incredible thing in common, which is that they're all children. They're all children who have human rights. And it doesn't matter our diversity and our differences, we should all have access to them. So our main challenge was community members not allowing children to join these projects, community members putting children with disabilities into a box and saying, this is what you can and can't do. Don't dream of anything more than that. And for the first time, we're having young people step up and say, I'm a proud youth ambassador. I'm going to change my community, but also I can be an activist. I can stand up for the rights of other children, not only in my community and the world. And they're doing it. And it's incredible to see.
Wow, Jessica. I think that is very, very, very important, and very, very important also in terms of awareness and for those that are still living with disability and still living in those boxes. So I'm very sure that those that are watching today in those communities will want to be a part and be open to sharing their experiences as well. We'll speak more about that a bit later. So for now, I want to focus on the impact of what was the impact of COVID on your programs, on the Justice Desk? How have you managed? Because we couldn't do gatherings. So how have you adjusted with COVID?
COVID had a major effect on us as an organization. We immediately changed a lot of our services to cater for things like we started food programs. We started moving a lot of our trainings and youth ambassadors conferences online. But what we also decided to do was to mass print and distribute a whole bunch of our educational materials to students across the 3 countries to make sure that, even if you don't have access to an internet or electricity or a computer or a phone, you still have access to this life-changing information, which these young people have a right to. So a big focus for us was to make sure that, a lot of our young people whose parents had lost jobs due to COVID, that they were still being able to access a healthy meal, which was something we hadn't done before as an organization. So we had to really change with the times in that sense. But also that our core focus of educating and equipping people to be human rights defenders remained. So our young people got together, they started creating more materials on how they could protect each other. They came up with activities that they could do while the kids were in lockdown so that they would keep up the passion and the fire for the work that we're doing. And they tried to stay in touch with each other. They set up WhatsApp groups. They set up a whole bunch of different little virtual gatherings, which they could do to keep inspired, to keep the fire alive. And what we find is that when young people just have an opportunity to spend time with each other and to speak to each other, to share with each other, that is a space where transformation happens. That is a space where incredible ideas for change start to blossom. And our young people did that even during COVID. So we were incredibly proud of them. Our young people also joined us in PPE projects, handing out thousands of masks and sanitizers. So our young people also said, use us during this time to help and protect more people. So we were very proud of them. I think one thing that this pandemic showed us was the absolute resilience and power that our young people have to mobilize and to make a difference. And our children were doing that across the entire country, which was incredibly inspiring. So even though COVID had a major impact on our contact projects, our children were still able to have the same impact. They just changed the way they did it. And I think it was something really inspiring. It's something that us adults need to learn from and see our young people as examples for, because they saw COVID and they said, okay, yes, this is bad, but this isn't going to stop us from going out and reaching more children. And that's what they did.
Wow, Jessica, that is amazing. I think that you guys have plan A, B, and C all in the bag. Thank you very much for the work that you are doing for our children, as well as providing them with a platform and also with the food initiative. I think that is very much needed. Many parents are still suffering today, and you're providing that platform and opportunity that they can gain access to whatever they need and also still learning about their rights. So I think without Justice Desk, I think that there would be a lot of lack of awareness. I don't think children would be that open to learning about the human rights and as well as teaching others. Jessica, a big thank you to you for being involved with us and sharing your experience and the work that you do with Justice Desk. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us on this platform. And if there are any young people out there who would like to join our program, who want to be involved, you can go to www.justicedesk.org. You can find us on social media. And all you need is a passionate heart and a heart that wants to make a difference. And we will be here ready to support you to do that. So thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you again. I'm sure that our viewers that are watching will definitely be be interested, and they definitely will contact you with a lot of questions. Also, now we will go to a quick ad break and we'll be back after this. We are back from our ad break and we're continuing our discussion on children's rights, specifically in disability. We have another special guest with us today. She is the Commissioner for Children's Rights for the Western Cape. She's the only one in South Africa, the only South African Children's Commissioner. Her name is Christina Namdo. Welcome, Christina. Thank you very much for your time and joining the show.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here.
Christina, I've looked at a lot of barriers, or I've seen a lot of barriers that children face today, specifically disabled children. How are you within the Western Cape ensuring that those barriers are overcome, specifically now during the COVID period?
Well, I was appointed on the 1st of June 2020, right in the middle of the COVID pandemic. So it was very tough to get to talk with children even. But I decided, children like WhatsApp. So I'm going to take to WhatsApp and I'm going to reach out to children. And the response was just phenomenal. Children from all over the province are now talking to me on WhatsApp. And I call them my child government monitors. I made also a special request to organizations such as the Disabled Children's Action Group and RX Radio to partner me with children with disabilities. So I talk on a continuous basis with children who experience disabilities.
Wow, Christina. So you have really started to provide an accessible resource and communicating with them. And it's quite admirable to see that happen during the COVID period. I know that if it was not so, you would be on the go all the time. With disabled children, specifically maybe deaf children, have deaf children been in contact with you? Because with deaf children, their first language obviously is sign language. Have you encountered that yet? Or how do you plan on making sure that they are also included in the disabled field as well as the mainstream field?
Yes, like you say, if the pandemic was not here, I would be in my car, on my feet from community to community, and I have done some of that in the rural areas. But for now, I actually rely on networks, and I've asked those networks to connect me with schools for the deaf and schools for the blind so that I can bring on board children of very many types of disabilities. I haven't been so successful yet, and so I continue to connect with activists and resources in this field so that I can bring children on board who are deaf, and that will mean also working with facilitators who are sign language facilitators. 15 years ago, I worked in a project directly with deaf children, teaching them how government budget works. And so I'm quite, used to working with a range of children with disabilities.
Wow, Christina, I think that your activism is quite inspiring. A lot of people that are watching us today, they might want to contact you. We will share your information, but I also want you to share maybe some tips and motivation that you can share with children as well as parents to make them understand and internalize that they do have rights. Maybe share 3 keywords that is important that you think children should be aware of.
Well, the mission of my office is little voices must count. And so this is the key message I share with children and their parents. Parents and all adults in society need to start active listening to children. We must take their opinions into account when we make decisions that affect their lives. And so I help parents to listen, and I help children to amplify their voice to those adults.
Wow, Christina, I think your message is very strong and you're straight to the point. And I know that children that are watching today might want to be involved, or they want their parents to see that their voice matters. We also need to bear in mind and think about how we can improve the future in terms of protecting our children from issues like sexual abuse, human trafficking, things like that. So can you share a short message on the importance of protecting children's rights and how children can use their rights to protect themselves as well?
Well, the basics of children's rights is actually in 3 P's. Protection rights, so that means protection from harm, and provision rights, which means that they must be given services according to their needs, and participation rights, their opinion must be counted. All 3 of these P's must be taken into account when we say we are addressing children's rights. And then a very important key part of children's rights also is that adults are the duty bearers to deliver on children's rights. Parents are our first duty bearers of children's rights. They must be the primary protectors of their children. So adults across society must come together and keep their eye on the child.
Wow, Christina, thank you so much for sharing those very strong points with us. Thank you very much for your time in joining Accessibility with Jabaar, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that you do. I hope to talk with you again soon. Bye for now.
So now we have information that we're going to share with you linked to children's rights with the Justicedesk as well as with the Western Cape Children's Commissioner. Their contact details will be listed here below. We've come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for watching Accessibility with Jabaar on Cape Town TV. Goodbye.